Alright, let's start the second act, and for Dribs is the Light, we're going to a desert, the desert of Kuneer.
You said I would like this bit.
That's what's called irony, Dribs.
Okay. Is it a good desert level?
It's a level like the others, it presents, decent enough challenges. It's just the aesthetics, remember, that's what Dribs doesn't like.
So it's going to be exactly like the desert then. Landed with nothing really impressive going.
Remember, Dwebs hates sand because it gets all around and
it's rough, coarse, irritating.
It gets everywhere. Yeah.
It's like
Oh my god!
I'm like Tio with sewer levels.
Yeah.
Oh my god, it's the journeyman from the journey. Hey, how you doing there?
Multitudes crawl, or with wings take
Probably
flight.
asleep with the board.
No, probably
From a
singing.
gazetteer of the Owl Kingdoms, by Lies of Keel.
Yeah, these are actually transcripts that I think are also from the book.
Great, yeah.
Basically,
Shut up
you're-
and go learn something.
Unlike in the movie, you're actually visiting some locations that were in the book described part of the Owl Kingdoms. So it's actually neat that they're expanding a bit on the lore of that.
himself has also now gone missing.
So yeah, our first objective, Java, is to, free a bald eagle. So let's go rescue America, I guess.
Look out, Sean!
Well, the bald eagle found America.
And here's where our second main enemy type, the bats, of course. If you remember in the movie, they were actually the servants of the pure ones. The bats do not speak, they're treated like they're lower intelligence creatures, so there's that.
I always knew some bats were trouble.
When are they not?
There we go. Again, I'll try it. Again, you can really perform some decent maneuvers, of attacking from different places and going high speed towards your target. Again, I don't have much experience with stuff like Ace Combat, so I know that it's not as intense, and it's more focused on, shooting projectiles in those games. But this is also reminiscent a bit on stuff like the aerial fighting DBZ games. Again, it did remind me of the times that I spent on the Budokai Tenkaichi games. Sure, let's follow the trails, why not? There you go, your first objective after dealing some of the enemies is to follow that carrier. If I recall correctly, you can actually lock onto it, so with the camera, meaning that you can just, move freely yourself to adjust yourself on that matter.
Mm-hmm.
I actually do wonder if, aside from the Lord of the Rings, obviously, for the team and Warner Bros. Were inspired in giving a bit of aesthetic and the kind of music from also the Harry Potter games, which were coming to a close, and EA was about to lose the rights to them.
It is possible, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Some of the newer Harry Potter games actually, still apply some aesthetics from the movies.
Not gonna
Yes, John?
lie, a crossover between Legends of the Guardians and Harry Potter could have worked.
Well, it depends. Again, this world relies on not having humans. So if you want to make this work, the human character should be all animaguses. So
No. Don't you see? The idea is that this is what.
Sorry,
Yeah, the idea is that-
I'm sorry, Andrew, I'll mention later.
The idea is that this is what Hedwig was doing whenever she wasn't on Hogwarts grounds.
Sure, definitely.
Yeah, it's like in Phineas and Ferb when the side animal character gets all the exciting bits.
So the bald eagle, which is now prisoner of the bats, is actually voiced by Pretata Shore, which also has one or a couple of NPC roles also.
But we have to save Shao Kahn. By the way, Shao Kahn.
Also,
sorry,
or the Hulk, if you want.
So this is basically Joe. Considering
or
Warner Brothers
Megatron going up a voice for Cybertron.
Considering
series.
Warner Brothers owned Mortal Kombat at this point, is this Shao Kahn's origin story?
That's a bald eagle.
Maybe. Oh, by the way, it may please you to know to you, but Tatasori returned to voice Shao Kahn in the sequel to Scorpion's Revenge.
Well, hold
From what I heard, Battle for the Realms stick to all of the voice actors that were in Scorpion's Revenge, so there is that.
I'm free. Now it's time to teach these thugs a
Yes,
lesson.
friend of the story, but he's trying to do an Australian accent of all things.
Well, I mean, the film was made in Australia.
Well, he did
so-
play Dingo Dial.
So yeah, now you also have Streak, the Bald Eagle, as an actual wingman that you can use. So if you have your bars sufficient enough, you can actually spam those in order to have a target being harassed by all sides. Again, it gives a bit of franticness to the combat that is still relatively enjoyable for what you were supposed to do.
I'm on it.
Thanks. The thing is that, again, like I said, with Chrome Studios focusing on polishing the most important core aspect, again, you've seen most of what you can do with the game relatively soon.
You have
So,
my
hold
eternal
on.
gratitude, friends. My mate is away, and I was foolishly patrolling on my own when these so-called pure ones attacked me.
I'm Shard, and this is Parzival.
Those that
Ezra
call
sent us to see if the
themselves
stories
pure
about
aren't
Alex
really all
missing
that
were
pure.
true.
It's like basically, it's like calling someone
Unfortunately,
good
yes.
guy.
The pure
Remember,
ones
if you
are
don't remember
involved,
these in the
and so are
movies, they're
those vicious
basically the
night
equivalent of
rangers,
owl
the
Nazis.
bats.
If you have to call yourself that, you're not really that.
Also, please don't stare at my face.
Ow, that's the thing about owls, Teal. They like to
Actually,
stare.
that was the Streak of the Eagle's face.
Well, you know, the theme is owl, so of course an eagle do as an owl do.
As payment for their loyalty, the pure ones have been giving any non-Taito owlets they find to the bats. The owlets are being
That's
kept in a
nice.
secret hideout, somewhere in Kuneer. There are, however, bat
So,
sanctuaries in
will
the
this
area.
eagle be a
Perhaps we can
recurring
get some information
character in
out
our
of the
story?
bats
Is he just
located.
here for
Yes,
this bit?
he's actually gonna, well, not too much
There's a
story-wise.
sanctuary
He's
nearby.
gonna be mostly
Follow me.
prevalent in terms of dialogue in this desert set of missions, but it will be your wingman for the rest of the game. So there is that.
Of course, we hired Fred Tetasori, and we're gonna use Fred Tetasori.
Mm-hmm. No, most of the voice actors are perfectly balanced, to be honest.
So is he a bald eagle or a desert eagle?
Okay, yeah, to be honest, Joe, my ornithology is lacking because I cannot tell much of a difference.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, you call them a bald eagle, but the game seems to call them a desert eagle. So
Might be that, my bad.
Bald eagles are the type that have the white head, you know, aka the symbols of America and all that.
Mm-hmm.
This eagle seems... Well, okay, maybe I haven't gotten a good look at him, but
Well,
he doesn't
let
look
me
like
see.
a bald eagle.
Let me see if I actually may remember. Also.
It's weird, but we don't always get clear looks at the characters in this game.
No,
so
we
they
mostly
know-
do in the actual, FMVs, and we don't get much of those, especially because we have to be 4 different types depending on the type of owl that you choose at the beginning.
I feel
That's
like
one
what
free
this
to
game,
they are.
how this game operates is like, well,
Destroying
it
their
sacrifices
sanctuary may
some of the
scare them into
production
talking.
values for tighter gameplay.
Mhm.
Trade up, which still gives us a nice and
new.
fun game. But if you want to look into like the lore, designs, and whatnot, okay, there's lore, yes, but
They're under
designs,
attack.
meh. Not even terrible, just meh.
There, Jova, this is a Desert Eagle, not the gun, obviously.
Oh yeah. I know what Desert Eagles look like, but I guess we can assume that this is what the guy's name is, Storm, right?
Let me see, just to be sure, Streak.
Streak the eagle.
I actually don't know what type
Let's go.
of eagle is classified the ones that live in my country, the ones that live on the Alps, because we do not have the white head of old ones. So, Dweebs, what do you think of this magnificent canyon-like desert? Exactly.
I'm sorry, it's a desert. It's sand. There's nothing.
You do have some bit of
I
variety.
would say
with
that
the,
we at
with the
least have a
canyon
canyon
structure,
here.
Canyon structure, and there is some vegetation occasionally.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, as far as desert levels go, this is not as generic as they usually
Especially
go.
because it's more
It's
based on
not
an
really a
Australian.
desert though. It's a
It's more
canyon.
based on an Australian like
Well-
desert rather than traditional Saharian one.
Well, Well, Dibs, canyons can very well be part of deserts. That being said, though, I will say the popping is very noticeable at times.
Yeah.
Is that the name of the canyon? The Popping Canyon?
Might as well, I guess.
Catchy.
They must have known we were coming.
Oh
Force
no!
those bats out of hiding.
Just a bunch of coals are enough to actually destroy a structure like that, because apparently these bats don't know how to construct shit.
I will say this, sometimes the music sounds a little
hot
too
coals on the
mundane
catapult
given
if you
that
have
we're in the middle of battle.
It's more kind of like the opposite, Jova. It's trying a lot harder actually to sell the moment in order to
Really?
showcase how serious business it is.
Really, I feel like some bits the music remains mundane, like it feels like we're still in one of the calmer segments even when we transition into the fighting, like just a few moments ago.
Okay, that's the thing, Jova. I do believe that most of the music is like more suited for combat than just the quiet moments. So maybe it is that. There we go. There we go. But no, but again, like I said, it's based. This desert is more based on the Australian one, which is slightly different. But I forgot to mention those. Great shot.
Great shot!
Those wind currents are basically a free boost to your speed. Basically, you reach top speed immediately if you know what you're doing, and basically allow you to traverse these hubs very quickly. Basically. So it's not fast travel, but it does allow you to go through the distance if you want. Ow. Yeah, and you...
we probably should not fly into the ground.
I was still getting used to the controls, Jova.
Oh, right, is it your typical press up to go down, press down to go up?
I think it's
sort of
the
flying
default,
controls?
but like most of games since the PS1 era, pretty much you can reverse that if you want from the options. So there is that.
That's nice.
Also, I love how the character that you're supposed to follow emits this growing aura, so you don't get lost.
Hey, it's just like in the Quidditch sections of Harry Potter games when you're chasing after the snitch.
Also, the thing that you mentioned before, Jova, about the poppings, might as well actually also talk a bit about the performance. The game is mostly in 30 FPS, but as you can see, there have been drops all over the place. Not too much in the sense of being too annoying, but they are noticeable. So I'm probably imagining that the Xbox 360 version runs a bit better. I don't think there was a PC version, and even so, it's probably the least at this point. Let me check. I actually did not check that. I think this was strictly just Xbox 360 and PS3. Let me see.
So, do you have a blatantly favorite part of the game?
So where's your hideout?
One of the later chapters actually. It's more fun on the front. Oh, there we go. It was released. The console version were PS3, Xbox 360, and Wii, but there was also a portable version on the Nintendo DS.
I see.
Cross Studio is also known for multitask a bit, so I can imagine the fact that they did most of them themselves. The only different ones, it's the Nintendo Diverse version developed by Tantalus Media. There we go. Yeah, for the time being, again, we're just fighting either bats or crows, but soon enough we'll have to also tackle with the pure ones themselves, which are a bit more chatty during combat.
Come on.
All right. Yeah, there we go. You can also use the corkscrew if you're not having that much of a speed to build up instantaneously if you have enough prowess. So again, the game gives you decent enough options for mobility. The thing that it's not it's more of a nitpick than anything, but you don't unlock that many new abilities as the game progresses. The upgrade is mostly reserved to your actual potency of like attack and stuff like that, thanks to equipment you can get, but you don't like unlock new moves as the game goes on, which is kind of a missed opportunity because again, this is a story about how this character actually goes through the motions and has to learn to become a full-fledged guardian. So you'd think they would try to do something like that, but no, it's mostly safe. Again, the key word for this game is playing safe. There you go, there are the pure ones. More like scouts for the time being.
Get him!
Very nice, thank you.
Let them escape.
Yep, that was the blum.
Lovely. Why would you? Yeah, whatever.
Yes, Jova?
I was gonna wonder why not have him as a main character, but we haven't seen all the characters.
Okay,
Maybe
that's
they'll
also the
show
thing.
later.
Steve Blum is only relegated to voicing the NPCs. There aren't many, named characters in this game aside from the very specific good guys. So there aren't any major named bad guys in
Okay,
this
so
game.
no disrespect to Steve Blum, but I do wonder if he actually sometimes takes roles cheap just so he can maintain his Guinness Book of World Records of literally being the actor with the most voice acting credits in anything.
Who, Steve Blum or?
Yeah.
Yes, he's in the Guinness Book of World Records for having the most voice acted roles ever.
Cool. I mean, to be honest, I'll always be a bit partial to any voice skill mod in Digimon Tamers.
Ah, Digimon Tamers.
I don't really want to listen how it sounds with the English dub, thank you.
Hey, the English dub was fine.
I'm just gonna stick
yeah.
with my country's one, thank you.
I was gonna say, I
fair
have no
enough.
time for weeaboos.
No, I reserve the one for Japanese dub for some specific occasion, but for some other I just stick to my country's language, like say Excel Saga.
And I'm sure you stick to your country's language dub of School Days, too. Seriously.
No, I
you
don't
guys
think we
was-
got that one.
I know you guys got something special regarding School Days. but
Oh,
I'm
we
not
did?
sure what.
If so, I haven't tracked.
Maybe Italy were the country to ban school days.
Ah.
The pure ones and bats are working together even more closely than I thought. They must be harboring owlets.
Fred,
within
you're
the
trying a
Bad
bit
Hive.
too hard with
We
that
must find a
accent.
way to rescue them.
I'd say he's doing relatively fine, though. I will say he probably perfected this when he played Dingo Dial and Crash the Insane Trilogy.
No witnesses. Geez, that's obvious.
I don't know if... I forget if he played him in Crash 4 as well. Dribs?
He did.
That's nice.
Yeah, I mean, which
And he
surprised the
swore
hell
up
out
a
of me,
storm
considering they
according to
randomly
British...
which is amazing considering they randomly recast a lot of the roles. in
Well,
Crash
that's good.
4.
Yeah.
Like Entropy is not voiced by Cory Borton in that one. I mean,
Wow,
the main Entropy.
The one that struck me the most was Coco.
Coco.
Yeah,
Also,
for years
Roger-
it was Debbie Derryberry. Now all of a sudden it's Eden Rigel.
Especially because apparently for
Fair
the
enough,
voice,
she's fine in the role. It's just still.
especially because for the grunts that had the character to doing Crash on the Run, they did call back Derryberry.
That's the thing. In regards to Crash, I won't spoil the entire context, but he's kind of now voiced by Roger Craig
Although we
Smith.
found the Bad Hive,
Anyway,
some
uh,
bats
next
are still
next
sneaking
chapter,
owlets
which
through
is
the
now
canyons.
set
You'll need to get in there
on still
and
on the desert, on part of the desert, but more like during
I
the
see a
night.
thief trying to sneak an owlet through the canyons. Over there are several others trying to escape with owlets as well. Go in and retrieve the owlets, then bring them back here once you have them.
Okay,
We'll keep my nest guarded in case any hostiles attempt to take the owlets again.
that's a nice trick.
There's no time to waste.
There is no time to waste.
Yeah, Shriek. That'll be my reaction too.
You're a bad to the views.
It could be. I mean, I know you see me, but that's only during the day.
And you locate things by yelling very loudly, unhearable frequencies.
Yeah, I know. That's why, in regards, whenever we come across something really, really bad, you barely hear me react. That's because I'm actually screeching that loud.
with the echolocation sonar, definitely.
Get the owlet back to my nest. Hurry. Fly up above the canyon.
Anyway, this is basically a prototype of that side mission that I showed you in the first part about bringing back the owlets to the base from the enemies. Again, if you don't actually do those in time, this is basically your introduction, and then you actually go back and try to do them properly. So the game is actually, you know, potentially teaching you if you're not there, if you did not do well in one of those. Each mission gives you a reward similar to, say, Bayonetta, with bronze, silver, and gold medals, depending on how well you perform. But getting gold is surprisingly easy, aside from one specific mission, and I think it's in the next part. So, you know, getting some perfect scores in this game is actually surprisingly easy enough. Again, it respects the target it's doing without being too easy on its own. It still, you know, demands some kind of attention from the players and some, you know, input reception. So I can respect that.
Whee!
Remember, apparently the pure ones give the outlets they don't really need to the bats for sports or feeding them, so that's why we're actually recapturing them.
Yes.
What a great society.
Get the owlet back to my
Yes,
nest.
Streak, thank you.
That's new.
Okay, here's one actual new move that you actually unlock now, but again, like I said, you unlock most of them early on.
Take
with enough
that,
prowess,
you fiend!
with enough prowess, you can actually perform like headbutt kind of move, especially if you unlock the armor, any kind of armor. I think it's actually also based on a move in the game. A move in the movie that the protagonist does, where he's just headbutting. But it's also useful to break an enemy that is trying to attack you from the front.
I will say this. Kudos to whoever came up with all these achievement names.
Chrome Studios themselves, when it comes to naming the achievements, trophies for a game, it's the studios that develops that they has to come up with that.
Well,
So
that's why I said, like, well, to whomever on the team came
sure.
up with the names.
Sometimes they get very basic or uncreative, like say, you know, you have a trophy for, you know, buying stuff from a merchant. It's probably, if there's not much imagination, we're just gonna call it Kate the Expander.
Or again,
It's not like a bad thing, but it's very, very low-hanging fruit, essentially.
I think the most generic one has to be the one from Sneak King, which is literally just called Completist.
Honestly,
Yes,
no, there are some even minor ones, like say literally 100%, nothing else, just 100%.
One of my favorites.
They're not the most important thing, but never underestimate the value of having entertaining achievement names.
Hold on, yes, Pedro?
One of my favorites is in Uncharted 4, where if you replicate that moment in where in the showcase Eddie freed, there was a technical problem that caused Nate to be stopped in the same place for various times. If you replicate that in the game, you'll get a trophy called Stage Fright.
That being said, also, Jova, it also depends on if different countries want to translate them in a different way, because... hold on.
Riveting.
Freedom! There we go.
It seems quite clear that this will not stop unless we take the fight directly to the bats. Shall we?
Sure.
So, question: does the gear you collect and equip to your characters does that show up in game in cutscenes?
So some of them, the FMVs do not actually show them because, of course.
Alas.
But yeah, like I was mentioning, for example, in my country, the one specific trophy for the Strider 2014 video game, the one done by Double Helix, is actually better. It's basically the speedrun trophy. In the English-based version, it's called the Speed Demon. Traditional stuff, you know. If you have like a speedrun trophy, it's usually called like that, like Speed Demon or, you know, Fast Earner, stuff like that. In my country, it's a reference to Spaceballs. It's called ludicrous speed, essentially. So there is that. And it's like the only one with its name like that, with that particular change. So I guess someone in the team that was translating the text in my country was like, yeah, let's be quirky. But yeah, like Jova said, it ultimately depends on who the team gets to be creative or not. But I do admit, I do really like some creative naming for achievement. Not just potentially the conditions, but also the naming.
Yeah, the Sonic Mania trophies are full of references like No Way, No Way, and various others.
And then you have Undertale, where Toby Fox clearly had no idea how to do achievements, so it's basically a sequence of like, not even a ranting, but like an awkward set of phrases with like, I don't know what to put here.
And then there's the one that literally has you standing around for like, I think 45 minutes or so.
I don't know, the condition was just mentioning the names. I think all the trophies were are related to the shrine where you actually deposit the donations. Well, I forgot. I'm sure we should ask Shiroi. I'm mostly stuck with the original PC version for Undertale, so there's that. I don't think that one got achievements implemented. Weird. There we go, we got even a gold from this one.
Beautiful.
We must find a way to force the bats out of hiding. It would be foolish to fly in there with all of them inside.
So, let's destroy shit.
We need to find a way to get them out into the open.
That's what he just said.
I'll wager a few well-placed hot coals should do the trick.
Yeah, but I say cooler.
Ah, let's get to it then.
Yeah, typical character voiced by Ben Diskin, always hot-headed and the
Our
cool
rescue
guy.
of the owlets in the canyons
Or at
was
least
just the
trying to
beginning.
be.
We need to rescue the owlets kept in the bat hideout.
Okay.
Simple.
Yeah, it's so convenient that all of these Pure Ones outposts always have pieces of coals, you know, braziers with coals standing on them.
I guess
We
it's
can
because
use
they
it to our
always wanted to
advantage.
be prepared and all that jazz.
So, but I know what you're thinking, because that was my thought process as well. Can I use the coals as projectile against the enemies if I want? And the answer is yes. Yes, you do. And you even get a trophy if you think smartly like that. The game tells you nowhere that you can actually do that, and yet you can, and you're actually rewarded for, you know, for thinking a bit outside the box, which I do appreciate for a game like this. Ow, ow. Yeah, get away. Also, if you actually perform a grab move or an attack against an enemy while you have, you know, the pieces of coal in your talons, it gives a bit of an extra damage, because technically you're also hurting them with fire. So again, there's also a bit of developer's foresight applied here. Again, that's the thing. Again, it's despite the whole playing safe, the game is still fun to play as, but it's not like superlative. It's a good experience that you can have, but that's it.
Going back, following up on that trophy topic, like one thing that I will also like the developers to do more is also be more quirky in their patch notes, like the World of Final Fantasy developers do.
Yeah,
because basically
you mentioned about the one of the summoning animation cut.
Yeah, basically what they literally say: if you want, we've given you the power to skip champion and mega mirage animations with the circle button, completely invalidating the work of dozens of artists with a single squeeze of your almighty indifferent thumb. Oh, and of course we've crushed some bugs. Crush! They're gone!
Again, though, I also have to reiterate the thing that I did mention for stuff like Battleship or Terminator Salvation, the Terminator Salvation video game. Despite what I said about the quality, this was still a game that was released in a time where games like these were sold for $60. And as much as I appreciate these kind of games, $60 is still way too much for an experience like this. So, again, the usual. I'm glad that companies did learn to not overprice licensed games these days, unless they too try the whole AAA kind of thing. like say a Batman Arkham title, for example.
Yeah.
But quality aside, Jova, the experience that you get in the content, in the gameplay that you perform, is meaty enough to sustain that kind of, that kind of price tag.
Oh yes. Oh yeah. I wasn't disagreeing with you. It's just like, well, man. I remember those older times, and you know what? Again, back in the older days, before we had stuff like the internet, it was a case where we had to justify to ourselves. It's like, oh yeah, like, well. And again, I remember how tough it was having to pick out a game in a game store here and there because I could only get so much.
This was also remember, Jova. Well, okay, it was 2011 was the starting point of winning, but hold on, because we're about to have our first boss fight of the game actually against I think it's called like the general of the bats, or like the lieutenant or something, like basically the commander unit of the bats. Gliding with style. But I do remember, Jova, that this was still around the time where you can also rent games from Blockbusters and similar places, so there was also that kind of thing.
I feel like, wasn't Blockbuster out the door by 2011?
I don't remember specifically when it happened.
Pretty
sure.
The
chieftain, there you go.
Right,
although game rentals may still have been a thing. Oh god, remember GameFly?
I don't, because my country did not add that much on that front. So yeah, the chieftain as a boss fight is pretty straightforward. You can attack him like a regular enemy, but he does have a couple of tricks up his sleeve, like he can dodge more of your attacks, can try to ambush you from some places, and can ask for reinforcements. So your best strategy is to try to to lure him, also by throwing the pieces of coal, but also to use the headbutt move, which also helps. That's also another thing that I didn't mention. The headbutt move will also be crucial later on because some enemies will start sporting equipment of armor of their own, and using the headbutt move, you can actually break it. However, the enemies can do the same thing to you, meaning that you'll be weaker and deal less damage if you take too much damage. So it's a good trade-off, and it's also a neat way to incorporate the fact that the enemy is using some of the same techniques that you do.
Direct hit.
Thanks, Rick. Can't think of a particular slang in Australian. Maybe Nito, I guess, or Rito. Yeah, that should work.
I should. If I could ask Haley.
Shrimp on the okay, no, I don't know what shrimp on the Barbie means.
Roasted, or roasties.
Yeah, I'm just gonna ask Haley on Twitter at this point.
Fadankum. That's another part of Australia.
I'd rather ask the actual Australian.
It helps that we know so many people across the world and we can get to know them so readily well.
That reminds me, Jova, as I mentioned this SMB, maybe we should, speaking of birds, maybe we should get back Crow the Bullet one of these days, considering the videos that we originally had with him as a guest are completely gone.
Yeah, maybe. He's still around. Oh, and Fallon's actually open to guest commentate again.
I mean, he did it only once on the Incredible Hulk 2008 movie. That was it.
I feel like he was with us on some other stuff.
Well, Jove, if your next movie pick is the Guardians of the Galaxy movie, maybe you can show up for that.
Oh, I know he loves that movie. He is, of course, eager to look at some absolute crap with us.
Of course. Also, another thing, the chieftain. After a certain bit, the chieftain starts repelling you if you do the headbutt move with a sonic kind of attack, so you cannot actually exploit the same tactic over and over against him. Again, it's a cool thing that the game does not become too lazy with its own gameplay, and instead tries to put something to keep the player's attention in mind. So
I dig it.
I appreciate this. Again, it's a bit of a shame that the fact that they got the game, I mean, this is more of an hindsight thing, that they didn't got the game in a proper case, because despite the simplicity and the fact that this is a game that I still want to keep, do not actually resell. I normally don't do that anyway, but this is a thing that doesn't even cross my mind, because this is just nice enough. So I just wish I actually had a proper case for it for the last, especially because it was still a time where game manuals were very detailed, so I can only imagine what the one of these games looked like. Really, I actually got gifted Jova the other day for my birthday, the HD version of Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne, and the manual is literally like a single piece of paper, but it's more like of a copyright disclaimer thing. It's so depressing.
I do miss the old days when manuals were.
I get the reason why we don't do them anymore, because you can check them digitally, and and a lot of people don't even care about them and everything. So it's saving on paper printing. I get that. It's just a bit of a shame. I wish at least on a digital level that they replicated that kind of thing.
I guess technically you could argue that digitally, yes, the control schemes are in the game, so there's
that way. But I mean, in terms of creativity, like for example, a game like this will have probably a manual that's stylized like a traditional old torn-out book.
I guess the argument would have been, oh, that's what the wikis are for.
I know that. No, that's what I mean. That's what I mean. Like maybe just do that, but just on a digital level. Also, that wasn't a boss rush game.
Nice work
Oh,
defeating
okay,
the
come on,
chieftain,
game. You were
Sharp.
doing so good with the achievement names that you give us boss
I guess
after
in
we
order
beat
to
the first boss.
I guess it's like that because we sped up. I don't know.
Shard and his comrades freed a prisoner
Okay,
due
time to
delay.
talk a bit of something that was only in the book, I think.
A wandering hermit named Uriah, who had sought solitary meditation in the desert. He confirmed what they suspected, that the bats were collaborating closely with the owls that called themselves the Pure Ones.
Because
He pointed out to them the curious metallic bits the bats referred to as flecks, which the Pure Ones coveted.
Look like the crystals.
they're basically, if you remember, they're basically magnets.
And said,
You know, lad, you're the very image of an owl I met on a visit to Perrock when I was scared.
Uriah, if you don't remember, is the guy that was on the I think he was also in the movie.
His name was Gritty.
But here he talks about us also about our father.
And as
It's
that
voiced by
said,
David Bolt
he added,
here.
I thank you for my life. And now I wish
As
to be
in
one of
Bodie
consequence.
McBoatface?
I would be your
David
wingman
Bolt.
in this struggle.
He's mostly specialized in additional voices.
I love that name, to be honest.
What is it about it?
and so they all returned to
I
the
don't know, it's just so
conclusion to
how...
make Uriah well.
So, it sounds so brave. Yeah, they go for a name like that.
David Boat.
There we go, we also unlock a new set. Most of the grinding that I will do to unlock the new one, to equip the armor sets will be done on screen, just for convenience sake, like I said. So that's it for the desert actually, so that is gone, Dibs. We can look forward to not seeing it again. So
Yay.
join us instead for the next part, where instead we'll tackle, I think, a forest. I think it's the Forest of Taito, where the Pure Ones are actually attacking during the
Oh,
events of the
good.
movie.
Your armor's in pink now.
Purple.
What's your...
See you for the next part.
Like
See
I
ya.
say, a
Yeah.
sewer level. See ya.